When I'm training for professional competitions, men and women always ask me for advice. To women, I say push yourself harder than you ever have before and go beyond your comfort zone. Focus on your goals. Men, if I am willing to push myself to become Mr. Olympia in 2022, then I only have one thing to say to you. Bring your A game.
Here we go again.
Welcome back, soldiers. Here for another debriefing, but gentlemen, I need you to take a back seat to this one. You need to move back to the back of the formation. I'm going to need for all the concrete coven members, the thought monkeys, the strong and independent chicken heads, the edgeless oracles, all you backwards broads. I need you to get a front seat, front and center. Now, if you haven't been paying attention, everything that's going on in this society, little by little, you're seeing. This is what led me to the title of this video. Pick me or picked off. Now, I initially had a video that went about 20 minutes and 14 seconds in discussing things using charts. I may use them, I may not. But obviously, because you're strong and independent, I think they'll be highly irrelevant to you. So here's what your future forecast is going to look towards for you. Now, with you being the backbone of the community, that would explain the level 5 level scoliosis that has been displayed in these ethnic outposts. You can't call them communities anymore. See, with a community, you would have things as far as a neighborhood watch. You would know your neighbors and have a level of rapport with them. You'd be able to protect each other as a collective. You would have things as far as, like, I don't know, community garden and whatnot, but not you. You've embraced rugged individualism. You believe that high value is in placing your value in depreciating assets and assholes. So with that being said, when this society implodes upon itself slowly but surely, when the value of the dollar is little to nothing, when you have the society you know it break down into Mad Max beyond Thottydome, what are you going to do? See, what a lot of you chicken heads have believed, that men are disposable, men are toxic, you've been allowed to berate, destroy, and all kind of manner of irritation to a lot of men. There are still some solid men worth their salt, finding themselves, understanding what they're worth, and putting weight on not just their name, but who they are as an individual. See, these are the spiritually fortified men. Now, in spite of, in this society, you've been allowed to crucify men in these kangaroo courts using crimes of personal preference, which I will explain deeply into another video. You made yourself into a very trash commodity. See, the individuals that you poke fun at, you call mammies, pick-me's, black male identified specifically. When this society goes to trash, what does that do for you? Now, respectively, you believe you're unprotected. You feel that, men should come to your rescue. They should be pro bono bouncers for your bullshit. And that's not going to come to pass. Because when it comes down to the laws of the land, self-preservation is going to take a whole nother turn. One that you're not going to be favorable of. When you believe that vaginal inflation is going to matter in this new society, really it isn't. All your newfound friends in the Decepticon side of things, they're not going to be of use to you. See, the thing is, You got to ask yourself, what happens when you can't fuck yourself to fulfillment? Where you had to basically thought yourself out for a loaf of bread, some water, shelter. And we're not talking about what you do right now, because, some of you have these hovels you live in, and you can literally see the gonorrhea growing in the wall. But that's another thing. We're talking about survival skills. See, there are many women that you basically berated. You promoted social death. You did this whole cancel culture goofiness, which, much to your detriment, because your education kicked you in the titty. You didn't learn anything. See, when you have women who have a healthy appreciation of men, they understand that masculinity and femininity, that it's a needed dance. It's a positive and negative charge, but it keeps things going. Like, I don't know, society that you basically shitted on, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now, in this nightmarish world, let's just say you have a slew of anchor babies. You have to make those hard decisions, like which one of your children are going to have to live, or you're going to have to trade off for supplies. Which one you have to leave behind. See, a lot of y'all are feral with your femininity now, and that's another problem too. Since you call a lot of women pick-me's, mammies, black male identified mainly, or whatever have you. Now that goldfish that's riding that bicycle looking mighty stupid now, doesn't he? See, the men you deemed useless, the ones who are able to have viable skill trades, the ones who are able to have spiritual foundation, to learn how to have social skills, to network, trade resources and work, have that level of rapport, and rebuild society in as best they can. Create camps, learn how to protect and maintain themselves. Oh, I got something for that. The very things you try to pilfer in the wrong ways using slut culture and all that goofiness. These that the very things that pick-me's value and you detest, at least fully. See, with the provision, you think you can strong arm that way using courts, like as far as like child support, which will basically be evaporated at the time, because now you really get to see your maternal instincts kick in. What will you do for these 4 P's? Now, for a man who's spiritually rooted, he might not view you as worth the trouble, not worth the time, toll, threat, any of that. Problem solving. Well, you've done that for yourself because you made yourself an unattractive commodity, actually a liability. Then we get to the protection. See, now this is where you got to put on your big girl panties. Well, tattered as they are now, but wait until, this thing falls apart. This is where you start testing out that strong and independent mantle. Now you got to figure out on your own. Now you can get, a little gaggle your little chicken heads, the traveling sisterhood of the dirty underpants, and see if you can build a few villages. Hey, let's talk about a hut. What about this procreation part? Now, a lot of y'all have been slurred out and whatever, but the thing is, because you have feral femininity and you know how to treat or even work with a man in a respectable fashion, you can forget about this too, because he's going to ask himself, what do you bring to the table besides your pussy and your problems? And seeing that you are a whole heap of problems, you'll just be a passing fancy. But it'll be all exciting times, as you say, when that comes to pass. Now, I would show you the whole thing about the Valuable Woman series, but let's be honest, you ain't worth a fuck. Now, with the pick-me's, the ones you outcast, these are the women who will bring valuable assets and value to things. They can learn how to bring about culture, a constructive one, not the one you have created for yourself today. They'll be able to do things like sew, cook, nurture, use their feminine energy. You know that you learn how to hone and craft due to solid leadership skills by the women, and learning how to appreciate the leadership of men and seek it and embrace it. But see, you went around with your plastic truck nuts. I hope you can, you figure it out. Because yeah, you get your little G.I. Jane fantasy met, but it's going to be very swift and not in your favor. See, now that you don't have Zaddy to protect you, now you don't have all the courts to throw anything lopsided your way and keep you weak. Now you're on your own. And my dog Chico has a better fighting chance than you do. That's keeping it bluntly. Now, this isn't no fear mongering. This is like a reality that will come to pass. Because that's the problem with revisionist history. If you don't pay attention to what's going on, you're doomed to repeat it. And seeing that you see no value in men, that you figure that your value is in the external, dealing with I don't know, wealth. We're talking about leisure. But matter of fact, let's break that down. Because you're backwards, when the dollar falls, how do you determine that? We're not talking about currency on a tangible scale. We're talking about the intangibles. See, your femininity will be a measure of wealth, which many of you will be bankrupt or seeking a loan. Now, the leisure part. Too many you ladies have been playing around and playing yourselves. It's very unfortunate what happened to Mercedes Moore. But see, this is why men and fathers execute the 4 Ps as they do. The thing is, when you dismiss confidentiality, when you're too busy sneaking around like little cats and trying to cover your shit up, what can a man do when you get caught up? See, this comes to your detriment because you continue to play yourself and others. Now, the profession part, that's not going to mean anything because 9 times out of 10, your little underwater basket weaving job or degrees or your sociality degrees ain't going to worth a fuck. It's a whole nother element. And because you don't have the ability to adapt to this new world, now you're a professional thought. And even that has a shelf life. But you'll figure that out later on. Now, because you didn't learn on the education part to think outside of yourself, being these little selfish harpies, these sirens of suffering, you're going to learn a lot of hard lessons. You're going to learn how expendable you really are. And that's a problem. So let's talk about that part with the education. See, the fact that you feel that being opinionated to say about any old fucking thing that falls out your mouth, that's going to be a problem. Because what if someone's trying to tell you there's a rival camp or there's danger ahead and you want, you ain't my daddy, pop. You get picked off by a sniper. Or a wild animal sneaks up on you because you're not paying attention to your environment, tears that old plastic ass off of you. That's a problem. See, when you have system, order, and structure, and this is a military man speaking to you, there's a reason why you got to learn how to follow in order to be a good leader. But I'm addressing that to the men. When it comes to the women, having a good ear and listening to a man who has system, order, and structure, that's a matter of life and death. And in this nightmare scenario, which is coming pretty soon, how's that going to help you when you're obstinate? When you take pride in being ignorant? See, you'll be more of a liability, which you'll have to learn the hard way on your own. And many will tend to, stay away from you because they know that you bring too much unneeded attention and problems. Then we're going to talk about the mobility part. Now, here's a question. What good are those Manolo shoes or bodegas or whatever you want to call them shoes? What good are they going to be when you got to make, I don't know, a 5, 10, 20 mile hump across the country to get somewhere to shelter? And then it goes back to you bitching and complaining about your feet hurting because you weren't built for the endurance. You weren't built for the rough times. See, again, your little mobility shit, you always want to go somewhere because you're bored. But because you're not spiritually fortified, that shows you're not going anywhere in general. When people need to move forward and get civilization back to where it needs to be, you're going to be like chalk block that people want to avoid. Now, when it comes to moving, it's going to be a matter of necessity. Let's just say resources are running out somewhere and you need to make a hump. No one's trying to hear you bitch and complain about my feet hurt. I can't leave these shoes behind. All those depreciating assets you find value in now, it's going to be a liability. That's going to suck. Oh, and the little anchor babies you had to try to keep the dudes who didn't want a piece of your little weather beaten box. That's going to be an attractive sell for a lot of guys. He's got to worry about miles to feed. He's got to worry about taking your little grimlords out there and scattering off, and we end up losing men because we have to find out the little babies that you refuse to protect or look after for yourself. Now, we know about the dwelling part because some of y'all can't cook, some of y'all burn water, some of y'all been living off of Little Caesar's breadsticks and hot and readies, because, hey, it's convenient. Some of y'all just throw food together, whatever. If they didn't have fast food, which they won't likely in a nightmare scenario, you're kind of fucked. Then the appearance value. Well, if you go back all these 70 years plus years, you haven't been looking good. See, the pick-me's that you poke fun at, they're going to be very attractive because of what they bring to them as far as their feminine nature, how they can be assets. Why would a man waste a bullet or his time on a depreciating asshole, which is many of you? Ah, yes. And the family part. What the fuck is that? Family. Look at the family you have now. It's a patchwork of confusion, stress, disorder. See, it's a bigger mess than the Tasmanian devil having spray farting diarrhea. But hey, because you're strong and independent and everything has to be about you and that old happy wife, happy life bullshit, that's going to be put to the test. I see, peace of mind is going to be very obtainable because when you have a pick-me who adheres to the proper use of the 10 life values, he's going to be able to be his best self. See, do you know anything about feeding a family properly? Because what we eat, what we consume could be a matter of life or death as well. That's part of the feminine part. Now, that's not demeaning. It's about survival. It's about being selfless, taking care of you and yours. Actually, I don't know, promoting something like legacy, keeping a camp together, having that level of fellowship. Those things. Things that a man can train a woman to help protect him and his best interests. Because, that thing you call intuition, we're going to see about that. And your health, some of y'all are built bad. And how is it that a man going to run around with a chick who's built like a baked potato, or she's running around with a gout foot? She's going to be a liability. She's going to be left behind. You'll be a bullet sponge or whatever. Maybe a bear will gnaw on your plastic ass or titties or whatever, and that will buy the camp time. Well, that's a benefit. That's a strike for you. Take that into consideration. Oh, the last part, spiritual. See, because you've been this soulless vacuum where if it doesn't pertain to you or if it doesn't exalt you, it doesn't mean nothing to you. That mean your kids. That means being your reputation. the very ethnic outpost that we're in today. Yes. See, that's the thing that leads me to my conclusion. If you value masculinity, but more importantly, if you value femininity, and not just the Dollar Tree version, I'm talking about being a constructive woman who carries herself in the proper fashion, has these things together. You have much more to go on than just your weather-beaten box. What happened to your personal market value? Can you help with the people getting together and being a community? How you view yourself? The belonging vacuum. That'll be invaluable in those times where things aren't, as decadent as we're accustomed to. Same thing, your friendship market value. All these things. Now the marriage, who knows what will happen with that, but it's more likely for these pick-me's than you. And the thing is, if a woman has her valuable, if she's part of that, if she had those things working in tandem, if she's worth the time, toll, threat, and the trouble, and a man can comfortably exercise the 4 P's for her and get some reciprocity back to him. Excuse me. Choking on your bullshit. But if he's able to take pride in making those sound decisions and being able to trust a woman on that level, that sets her far apart from what you little bald-headed hoes are going to endure. See, the thing is, submission is not slavery. Despite what this nonsensical society has told you. See, if you got a woman who's got some sense about her, she'll be able to survive a lot better than you will. And that's going to be a problem for you. But according to my phone plan, I only have 2 bullshit minutes, and you basically wasted them just in the intro. So, with all that being said, I want to wish you ladies well on the new world that you helped create when Zaddy is taking off to the hills and you're off on your own. And the same men who are trying to protect your honor, disputing things like ghetto gaggers, telling you not to get on talk shows and demean men and embarrass yourselves. It's going to be an interesting new world. But before I even throw this whole fifth of fuck it out the window, I do want to leave you with this. Never allow your comfort zone to become your coffin. It always takes a pussy to expose and control one. And fellas, I want you to hear me good. Get your spirit up today. Gentlemen, both soldiers and civilians alike, I salute you guys. Shout out to the A-Game family, A-Game Nation. Shout out to my OG, Dr. Spencer Holman, Chili Chill, and these other guys out here who've been a major influence in my life. I'm going to be better with this technology and everything. I'm putting everything in order, being patient with it. But I'm looking forward to making an impact on things. And ladies, you edgeless oracles and thought monkeys, good luck out there. Because unfortunately for you, there's a lot of men who have memories like elephants. And the chickens will come home to roost. I just hope you add little onions to your side of eggs and bacon. So with that being said, I'm going to take my ass to bed after I load this up. Salute to you guys. And simplify.